Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's DM chat. My name is Suzy. I play Bukit on Saturdays and Ophelia on Fridays. Tonight I'm going to talk about running a pre-built module, more specifically, Curse of Strahd, because I love vampires and I have a problem. So overall, I personally really like the Curse of Strahd module, mostly because I personally like pre-built modules anyways, because it involves a lot less thinking, and generally they give you multiple different outcomes. They give you outcomes A, B, and C. However, if your players are crazy, you can also go with outcome F, which is whatever you want to come up with. So we're going to go ahead and get on into it. So main things to keep in mind about Curse of Strahd module. This is supposed to be intentionally a very creepy module. It does go into some gothic-y, horror-y aspects of it. There are also some things that are very that might be unsettling towards some players. So before you decide to play this module, definitely give it a good look through, just to make sure that either you as a DM are okay with it, or that your players will be okay with some of the themes in this book. Things to keep in mind when running a pre-built module is obviously the overall goal of the campaign. Is the overall goal to kill the big bad? Is it to rescue the villagers? Is it to take over the realm? All three of these are technically options within Curse of Strahd. Spoiler alert, when you kill Strahd, if you even do, you can have the option to take over Barovia yourself if you want to. Players do have the option of becoming a consort of Strahd if they swing that way. You can also just, kill Strahd and leave and quit like we did, because we were super tired of it. We decided at the end that our group of adventurers were going to start a tavern. The what? The Can You Not Cantina. That's what it was. So anybody who would come in looking for adventurers, we would immediately throw them out. Yes. God bless the Can You Not Cantina. We need to bring that back. So another thing to keep in mind would be the starting level for your characters. Are your characters coming into this already with a couple of levels behind them, or are they coming into this fresh? Again, the reason why I like the Curse of Strahd module is because it sort of has you come in. It can be run from levels 1 to 10. Strahd is a very formidable foe. He has a lot of minions that he can basically throw at the players if he so desires. And he can make this very challenging for them. And there's also multiple places to go within Barovia themselves that offer multiple different challenges. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Motivations for the big bad are also another big thing in this campaign. For Curse of Strahd, Strahd has 3 main motivations. He is searching for Irina Liana for various and sundry reasons that we will get into later. He is also searching for the legendary vampire hunter Rudolf van Richten, who has wandered into his realm, and Strahd is not exactly happy about that. And then also, again, searching for a successor or a consort. The adventurers, depending on how much of an annoyance they are to Strahd, could also ping on his radar as well as being potential threats to his rule, or, again, potential allies for him, depending on how your players want to go. Before you go any further into this campaign, definitely would strongly recommend that you read the first 2 chapters of the book in its entirety. Read them and then reread them, because the first 2 chapters have a lot of very good information in them. Namely that, most importantly, Barovia is in its own demiplane, meaning it does not exist in the ethereal plane, and it sits somewhere in between another plane. So once they are in Barovia, they are technically stuck. Spells like you cannot wish yourself out of this, you cannot magically teleport yourself out of this, you are stuck. Strahd is basically a curse on the land himself. So anyone that comes to Barovia will basically live and die in Barovia, unless you kill Strahd. Or unless you are a Vistani, as they can come and go as they please, because Strahd has bestowed upon them a special favor. So that is their own thing. The other thing is that Strahd is not a villain who sits back in his castle and just waits for the adventurers to come to him. He is very much a very active villain. He will go and seek out the party themselves and mess with them as needed. In our adventure, Strahd showed up in a town that was supposed to be protected against him. They had set up defensive positions to keep out wolves and werewolves, and they had a patrol running. And Strahd still showed up and knocked on the front door of the burgomaster's mansion that we were at and said, "Hey guys, what's up?" And we were like, "That's cool, we're gonna close the door now." So yeah, Strahd is a very active villain. He can technically show up anywhere as the story sees fit, or as the players sort of become more of a threat to him. He can show up as he sort of shows up just to more or less assess the players themselves, to sort of see who is the weakest link in the party. Is the party actually cohesive? And Strahd will prey upon that. Vampires obviously have a lot of different tools at their disposal. They have charm, they have their wolf form, the bat form, the mist form that they can use. So Strahd is an active villain. He doesn't sit back. He will go as he needs to meet the players if he so desires. There are special events also that can happen within the campaign that Strahd can show up at. And again, sort of as a reminder, Strahd has a lot of minions. He has been master of Barovia for well over 400 years. He's sort of, not only does he have the Vistani under him, he has wolves, he has bats, he also has undead things that, zombies basically, that will roam around the lands. Again, Barovia is a very cursed place, and it should show while the players are there. There are random encounters that can happen during the day and during the night as they travel. So you could potentially meet an ally, or you could meet something that may or may not try and kill you. Again, depending on how your players go. While Barovia is also in a demiplane, sunlight still technically does not shine there. The sun may be out and about, but for purposes of spell casting and weakness, it is not true sunlight. It is just daylight. So technically Strahd can come out during the day if he so desires, but he prefers not to. That's why he has his minions run around and do his bidding for him. Barovia is very much either overcast, muted sunlight, or storming. Those are your three options. It's never true sunlight until Strahd is destroyed. You can have the sunrise the next day, and, happiness descends in the valley of Barovia. Yay! But, again, until Strahd is destroyed, it is never truly sunlight. It is just light. Magic also in Barovia does not function the same way that normal magic would function. Again, because this is a Gothic horror setting, there's certain things that will happen. So if you cast Find Steed, whatever shows up is going to be skeletal. If you cast Find Familiar, whatever shows up should be skeletal. An undead creature. And those are not affected by the turn undead spells or features. If you have an alarm spell set up, it can sound like a deadly scream of someone, who's being attacked. If you cast Labyrinth, it's a wall of, it's a mortared wall of skulls, basically, that shows up. That's an option that you can have. Again, depending on how creepy you want to go into this whole setting. I know in our campaign, one of our players had a familiar cat, and it was just a cat because we wanted some happiness in our playthrough. God damn it! So we had a fey cat, and it was adorable, and we loved it. Again, going back to the random encounters, they are a thing. So even if your players may or may not encounter an actual enemy, they may encounter, a grave. They may encounter, nothing. They may steal some pants from a werewolf who left their clothes on the side of the road. We did that. It was great, let me tell you. We never did find that werewolf, which was kind of sad, because then we could be like, bitch, we stole your pants. Anyways. But yes, so you do have a multitude of options to sort of throw at your players. Again, depending on how your playthrough is going. You can use one encounter a day. You can use more than that. Travel day, by the way. Again, just depends on how you want to set up your playthrough for your characters. Getting started. So there's multiple different ways that you can get into the Curse of Strahd campaign. My personal favorite is the plea for help, which is basically a colorfully dressed character comes into the tavern and drops a letter and says, basically anybody who's willing to help, my master's willing to pay. Here's your payment up front, bartender a round of drinks, and then he leaves. And the letter basically is, again, a plea from the burgomaster of the village of Barovia, begging for the adventurers to come and help him save his daughter Irina. Spoiler alert, it's a lie. But there's also other adventure hooks that you can do as well. Depending on how well your characters know each other is going to depend on how you want to do this. So if you are doing an Adventure League one, or if you're doing this as an Adventure League, there is the entry for Werewolves in the Mist, which is basically werewolves are attacking and your guild master has asked you to investigate, and the book details that a little bit further. There's also the Mysterious Visitors, which is basically the characters are asked to scare off this band of colorfully dressed weirdos that are hanging out in front of some lady's mansion, and she wants them gone, and the guards are like, oh my god, no, we can't do this. This is, like, really awful. We can't do this to these people. So, then the other one, if none of those work, my other personal favorite is the Creeping Fog, where basically it's just, you're walking along a roadway and you're engulfed by fog, and you're transported to Barovia. Good luck! If you do choose to use the plea for help option, there are letters in the back of the book that will detail exactly what they say to the characters, which is very helpful. And bonus points if you can actually get the wax seal to work by actual sealing wax. Don't just use wax off a candle, because that doesn't work. But still, bonus points if you can get that done, because that just sort of adds to the flavor of this. If your characters are sort of starting off at level 1, would strongly recommend that you guys do the Death House adventure. So that technically takes place in the village of Barovia, but you can set it up however you want. You can set it up to where, if you choose the Creeping Fog option, you can set it up to where your characters are suddenly transported through this very creeping fog, and they wind up in front of this house. And there's 2 children standing in front, and they're both crying their eyes out. The book does detail a little bit more about how to set that up a little bit. As a reminder, if you're one of the reasons why characters don't just walk out of Barovia is the mist will literally kill them. Characters that stand in the mist long enough will start taking points of exhaustion, and at some point they will fall unconscious, and they may lose their health points. There also is an option that if the characters wander too far off the roads, if they are just walking in, that wolves will arrive in a certain number of rounds to attack them, and they will back off if they stay on the road. But going back to the Death House, the Death House adventure starts off for characters going from level 1 to level 3. The short story of the house is that it was used as a cult house. The people that owned the house sacrificed people to Strahd because they considered him a god. And eventually things went wrong because they killed some adventurers that Strahd had lured to the domain, and then Strahd put an end to all of them. It's kind of a fun adventure. It's very, very creepy. And mostly in the fact that there's certain subtle details within the house that if the characters roll high enough on their perception, they can see that, oh, that lovely painting, that lovely wallpaper that looks like leaves and stuff actually looks like skulls. Or, this painting that looks really, or this carving that looks really great and really intricate of children playing in a field is actually children getting eaten by wolves. Personally, it's my favorite. Ooh, sorry for ducking on screen. I love it. So the house is large enough that it can take, depending on how long your characters play and how quickly they can go through it, it can take at least 2 to 3 sessions to go through. There are 4 floors of the actual house itself, followed by a basement level, which in itself is its own sort of crazy, weird nonsense. At the end, there is a very lovely monster that they can go beat, and it's kind of, I think it's kind of fun. There's 2 endings to that. Either, I'm not going to spoil them for you, but either you can appease the cult or you can deny the cult that lived in the house. And whatever option that the characters take, Strahd will basically know of their actions and will sort of be made aware of their presence. Strahd is sort of aware of anyone that comes into his domain as it is, but this sort of just announces their presence as adventurers. That says, hey, we're here, we're queer, and we're going to kick your ass. Even if you're not queer. It's fine. The Death House itself is actually situated in the village of Barovia. So once they finish that up, then they can leave the house and be in the actual village itself. Now, if you did not use the Creeping Fog suggestion, you can just have your characters meet up with Ismark, who is the adopted brother of Irina, and he can, sort of test their mettle and send them to the house and see if they are in fact worthy warriors to be associated with. So, yeah. From there, they have a multitude of options. Most importantly of which is going to get their fortunes read by Madame Ava, who is she is sort of the leader of the Vistani, and she is outside of the village of Barovia. They have a specific encampment that they are at. And the characters will then need to get a Tarokka card reading. Tarokka cards are something that are specific to this campaign. You can use them as... It's sort of like a tarot card reading, but not really like that. Because the Tarokka cards will sort of dictate the next steps of the adventure. So the next time I am on here, I will demonstrate for you a Tarokka card reading. It's sort of, again, if you don't actually have the Tarokka card set, the book will help you sort of figure out what you need to do to sort of make up for that. And it will detail in depth, how you go about getting your reading done. But I have a Tarokka card set, and I will actually do that reading for you. How are we doing on time?
You're at 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay. I think I can keep going for a little bit. So once your characters get the Tarokka card reading, that should dictate where they need to go next. There's 4 artifacts that you need to defeat Strahd. Yes, 4. You need nope, 3. 3. There's unless you count friendship. Friendship's number 4. There's the Tome of Strahd, which basically is like Strahd's diary. It gives all sorts of juicy information on more specifically, how to kill him. You need the Sword of Sunlight, which is basically a sun sword. If you have the DM's guide, you can look up the stats for a sun sword, but basically it like gives you sunlight. And then there is the Holy Symbol of Ravenkind. That is something else that is very helpful because it can basically freeze undead, and it also protects you from being charmed, which is again one of Strahd's big things. Once you have your Tarokka reading, that sort of then dictates your characters where they should go next. There also is, in that reading, you will also get your greatest ally in your fight against Strahd as well, which there's a lot of NPCs. A lot of NPCs. Like, there are so many of them. It is very hard to keep track of them. I actually did find online somewhere, somebody actually did a Google Doc of all of the NPCs and where they are located. That is very helpful, especially if you're sort of a new DM, because this is, like, pre-built modules can be very intimidating, especially if this is sort of like your first foray into D&D. I would definitely recommend that before you even start doing Curse of Strahd, that you sort of go ahead and make yourself some notes on where everybody's located, like what sort of things you sort of want to have your players encounter. Make sure you also have handy stat cards available for the different types of enemies that can appear. The book will give you some of those, but they don't give you all of them. There are some that are very specific to Curse of Strahd that you're not going to find anywhere else, more specifically Strahd himself. But definitely, before you start this campaign, read the book multiple times, at least twice, so you can sort of get an understanding of at least a general idea of where things are going to be located. Because once you get that Tarokka reading, that's then going to dictate the rest of the campaign, and where everything else is. Now, your players could decide, yeah, sure, your Tarokka reading could actually come up with, oh, hey, the thing one that you need is over here in this village, and then the other 3 things that you need are all inside of Castle Ravenloft. Good luck. And that's quite challenging, because Castle Ravenloft unto itself is a monster to try and go through. Like, that is a giant pain. It's not fun. At least on the DM side of things. There are so many rooms, there are so many levels. It's huge. But the most important thing is that you do get your Tarokka reading, because again, once you get that, you can then sort of plan the rest of your campaign, because you can have plan A, B, and C, and then your players are like, we're gonna go to plan F. So, I mean, it's fine. I believe in you if you're DMing this. As a player, I still believe in you. Maybe a little bit less, but I believe in you. So next DM chat, I will do a Tarokka card reading for you, so you can see an example of it, and sort of pull out the map, I guess, and show you sort of how large a scale this area is going to be, and how much fun it is to sort of go through and explore everything. But in the meantime, we have the River of Turisal on Friday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. This Saturday, we also have Tales from Cyril, starting at noon Eastern time. And then we will be back again next Wednesday for DM chats, starring not me. It's Andy's turn? Yes, it'll be Andy's turn next time. So yeah, that'll be so much fun. So, I hope to see you guys again, specifically on Friday or Saturday. So yeah, hope to see you guys again next time, and good luck!